Tillery, North Carolina, was once a plantation worked by slaves. In the 1930s, Tillery became a resettlement community called Roanoke Farms. It was part of a federal program offering landless sharecroppers all across the nation a way to buy their own farms. On this land, a toehold on freedom, Tillery's resettlers have struggled for progress and justice for generations.
Well, I think first of all we have to realize where we are and what was here, that there was already two communities here, the descendants of the slave owners and the descendants of the slaves.
There was a great-grandfather that was a slave. He was born in 1846, and his slave master was John Tillery. My mother, she cooked it for this white man. My daddy, he worked it on the farm. But then, black folk couldn't sit and had to keep the mouth shut. Don't just get hurt or killed. And I come up in fear. Because I thought that, that my mom and daddy were going to get hurt.
In 1934, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed the New Deal Resettlement Program into law. In Tillery, the government bought 18,000 acres of land along the Roanoke River, divided it into farmsteads, and sold it to sharecroppers.
It was called the Tillery Resettlement Farms, and I understand it was land that older white people owned. Like this farm that I'm on was called the Blackgate Farm, but because they bought it from somebody by that name.
I enjoyed it to the highest because it made you feel like you were somebody, raising everything and being independent. What I mean by independent, I heard them talk about sharecropping, but I don't know about that. They said you always felt underneath. You didn't feel on the top, but down here made you feel like you was doing something for yourself, to own something.
I think we were picking cotton or something, and somebody broke on, there was an old hymn called I shall not be moved. It wasn't significant, the name of the song wasn't significant to me then, but now I realize what the mentality was, saying, you can bring it on, but I ain't going nowhere. And one little lady started going, I shall not, and everybody in the field went, I shall not be moved. And she said, I shall not, and the whole field went, I shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the water, I shall not be moved. It was a fun life, and I recall that we may have been poor, but I don't think anybody realized they were poor. We just were rich, and we think in so many other things.
The most times we would fellowship would be at church. I can't recall any other events that we would fellowship together. First of all, we worked so darn hard, we ain't had no time to fellowship. And the only time was church. Saturday, we would go uptown.
The first wave of resettlers were local sharecroppers. Some of them descended from Tillery plantation slaves, but there were too few of them. So the Resettlement Administration opened the program to families from neighboring counties. The second wave of resettlers, farmers occupied every parcel, and the community began to flourish. Until the autumn of 1940.
And it just rained, and then they didn't know that dam at Roanoke, the water was going to be strong enough to break through that dam. Water came up into the wagon up to the laps, over the knee. and the mule's feet was on the ground. My brother was driving the wagon. We came out toward where Miss Charlotte lived, and the water met across the mule back. And Mama, she just kept talking to my oldest brother, don't tighten on the reins.
Well, at that time, we wasn't given the privilege even to vote. We wasn't given the privilege for lots of things. We call ourselves fighting for our rights.
I'll never forget that day, how they talked down to Daddy. Matthew this, Matthew that. And his ultimate, the man at the FHA office, director, told him that you're going to lose this land, we're going to sell you out, I don't care what you do. It's over for you, Matthew. And I remember Daddy beginning to plead a little bit, and I jumped up and said, don't you beg that son of a bitch for nothing.
We are here to send a message to the legislature and a message to Governor Hart and a message to the rest of the residents of North Carolina that this poop has got to stop.
In 91, I believe, there was a piece in the newspaper that said economic development coming to Tillery, North Carolina. And one of the things we say about that was it brought the white community and the black community together.
I thought and believed them to be rabble rousers. It didn't take me long to see that they had a legitimate concern for not only for the community of Tillery, but also for all of the state.
The fight against factory hog farms led to a statewide moratorium. After organizing to save its school, the community took the lead on other statewide and national struggles.
As we have continued to collect documents, photographs, oral histories, and work with our own community organization, the Concerned Citizens of Tillery, in the history that's actually being created now, led to us being able to purchase one of the original resettlement houses, move it here to the community center ground, and we now have our own history museum that's remembering Tillery in the history house here on the grounds of the Tillery Community Center. In the 2004-2005 school year, we worked with the Center for Documentary Studies at Duke University to help bring that history house to a little bit more life.
Which one? Right here. The lady that was playing the piano. Yeah. Like if this the barrel, tie the barrel like this, throw it over like this, and you hang your nub on, tie it like this.
There is a history, it is a real history, and it is a true history. And it is a history of this community.